side, joined by the man himself, Muhammad Ali, ahead of his big fight for the WBC Asia welterweight title. Well, we've just had a big session just here as well, and I appreciate you for giving me your time today. Just talk to me about your upcoming fight and what we can expect from it.
Yes, so I've been given a big opportunity, to fight for the WBC Asia title, and that's on the 4th of October. I'd like everyone to come and support me, and you've seen the workout today, working hard, and the end goal is to create history and become the first type 1 diabetic to become a boxing champion.
I was going to say, we will definitely talk about the diabetes side of things, because that's a super interesting thing, because you don't see many boxers, one, maybe disclose health conditions, but also be in a position that you are as well. But I want to talk about your opponent. Obviously, if you've seen the flyers, it's billed as Pakistan versus India.
Yeah.
And just talk to me about that side of things and that little narrative. Does that play an extra motivational factor for you?
Do you know what? To be honest with you, look, we're both South Asians, British South Asians, and for me personally, I don't look at the trouble side of things. It's about promoting integration. Bringing both. Like he's bringing his side, I'm bringing my side. Set of fans, and it's about showing the world that we can come together and have a great event. Put a great performance on, and may the best man win. It's simple as that. May the best man win, and have no trouble. Whatsoever. We can come together. It's a sports event, and it's about promoting integration and showing the world that we can all come together, and peacefully as well. The most important thing is both sides coming together peacefully.
I want to just, like you said, you mentioned that you're a type 1 diabetic. That's something that I really want to talk about in this interview. At what point did you find out you were diabetic? Was it whilst you were in boxing, or was it when you were quite young?
No, it was well before I became a boxer. I was literally out of my nappies. So I was 4 years old when I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, a very hyperactive kid. So I was playing in the back garden, hot summer's day, and my mum looked at me like I'm not acting in the right manner. But she didn't know I was suffering from a hypoglycemia. That's where your sugar levels drop. And I basically passed out. My mum, rang the paramedics, panicked, and my dad was at work. And the paramedics came to the house, and that was that. I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. And I want to thank, the NHS massively. They're the ones who educated my mother and father, about type 1 diabetes. But going back now, 25 years, back then there was no technology as there is today. There was no mental health, being raised back then. My mother and father, I thank them so much each and every day. They suffered from mental health. People assume they fed me too many jelly babies, toffees. Oh, you fed him too many sweets. And my mum tells me now that she used to hide, going into public places, because people would say, oh, you fed him too many sweets, that's why he's got diabetes. But it was through hereditary. My grandfather had it late on, and I'm assuming my mother was a carrier, and I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, so going around about 1997.
So I want to ask then, so obviously when you know that you got diabetes and stuff, in terms of boxing, what was the point that you said, okay, I want to get into the sport of boxing? But then obviously how has training, diet and stuff with diabetes affects that as well?
Look, right, I'm going to take it away from myself now. This is for anybody suffering from any underlying health condition out there, be it asthma, heart disease, any illness out there, right? And I believe diabetes is not an illness. I believe is a condition, and a controllable condition. Look, my mother and father, they were told by my nurse, Jo at the time. She told my mother and father, look, get Ali involved in sport. It'll teach him life skills such as, being disciplined, respecting his elders, eating correctly. And diabetes, it works with the consumption of your food. So your sugar levels are triggered by what foods you are consuming, how much insulin you are taking. So you've got to take your insulin correctly. And at the time, my father put me into football. So when we'd lose, I'd moan, oh, it was such a body's fault. We got beat, the goalkeeper didn't save the goal, or the striker didn't. score. And my dad like got fed up and put me into karate then, because I'd always been moaning and groaning. So in karate, I was, just, learning the kata and, other skills and drills. And I said to my mum, I want to get into boxing. And my dad was like, no, Muhammad Ali suffered from Parkinson's, and you're already diabetic. I don't want you to have any other health, problems. So what happened was, my mum, I'd always nag her, say, I don't like karate, please take me to boxing, take me to boxing. My dad had said no. So my mum was driving back then as well, and we went to the boxing gym. My mum sneaked me there, so she had a deal with me. She goes, look, how we're going to do it is you be good at school, get the teacher to ring your father and tell them you're being good at school. I'll take you to the boxing gym, and if he finds out, I'll say, oh, he's been good at school because he's going to boxing. So that's why I'm taking him up. So my mum would take me to the boxing gym, and after like the first couple of sessions, the boxing coach said, I'd like to speak to your father. And I went to the car, and my mum's outside, and said, Mum, coach wants to speak to Dad. And Mum's like, wow, we got to figure this out. How are we going to tell him now? So we've gone home. Dad's come from work, and my mum said to my dad, look, I've been taking Ali up to the boxing gym. Look, the teachers have been telling you he's been good at school, so we should go up.
So she kind of hid it from your dad then?
Yeah.
Okay.
We should go up, see if he's decent. Just go speak to his coach. Why does he want to speak to you? So the coach said to my dad's come up, he's happy seeing me training, my sugar levels are in a good place, I'm healthy. And the coach said, look, it's good enough to compete as an amateur boxer. So we applied for my amateur license, and the England Boxing Board declined it due to me being type 1 diabetic. At the time, that was heartbreaking. Honestly, that broke me mentally. I was only a young kid. I was 13, 14, and being told I cannot box due to being type 1 diabetic with no sufficient reason, no medical reason given, just because you're diabetic. But the doctors were saying, look, he's healthy, he's fit, his sugar levels are in a good place, nothing can stop it. But the boxing board just said, no, that was that.
So then, in terms of overcoming that specific obstacle, I want to ask you how you went about doing that, but also what type of foods were you putting in your diet to help control everything? Because we do see a lot of people, and I'll say this obviously, we're both South Asian as well, both Pakistani. It's a lot of the older generation, in theory, that are meant to be diabetic or become diabetic because of their
type 2. Type 2. Yeah.
Right, so the younger ones are type 1.
No. So, a lot of our South Asians have got type 2 diabetes.
Right.
That's due to,
The diets and stuff.
having high cholesterol, bad diets due to bad dieting. Basically, I'm type 1 where I'm insulin dependent.
So every time you
my
eat
body's
and
not
stuff,
producing insulin.
okay. Yeah, so what type of foods then did you have to start implementing in your diet and stuff, especially once the boxing turned to a stage where, okay, I'm really good at this, I'm taking it professional? What type of things did you have to put into your diet, and what type of things did you have to remove that maybe, in the most respectful way, in a boxer who doesn't have your condition doesn't have to worry about?
What you got? I think boxing and diabetes work hand in hand. So, for example, diabetes, I consume good foods, my sugar levels stay in a good state. From the boxing perspective, I eat good foods, I stay close to my weight category in boxing. So I think they work hand in hand. So basically, my mum stopped me, having processed food, fried food, bad carbs. Like an example I can give you is, like fried rice, our bratte, the heavy duty chapatis, made out of ghee. Deep fried food, mum stopped me.
No fish and chips?
Fish and chips when I'm not got a fight day. That's why I love a good fish and chips. We can't be true Brits if we're not consuming
curry
a fish and
sauce or
chips.
gravy?
For me, Chinese curry, spicy curry. The spicy curry. I don't like mushy peas. My dad loves the mushy peas over his fish and chips. For me, it's the Chinese curry. So keeping away from fried foods, consuming organic, meats, good carbs, like your sweet potato, your boiled rice, wholemeal bread, good fish, just changing meats and, having home food, organic foods. There's not, you've got to find a fine balance between training, taking the right amount of insulin and a good diet, and you're winning.
I do see that, and I think what I see from yourselves is somewhat of an inspiration for other people, because there may be people who are older when they were diagnosed, as in 14, 15, 16, and when they hear that diagnosis and the fact that basically their life becomes a measurement scale and you've got to measure everything, you've got to keep on track with everything, it can be demotivating, it can lead to some form of depression and stuff. But seeing yourself here showcasing 15 and 0, going into a big fight, it can be done, and it can be done in a way that's healthy and also one that you enjoy as well.
Look, in the word impossible is the word possible. You know, anything's achievable. I really would like to get this message out there to people. Look, there's people out there to help you. All you've got to do is do some research, reach out to the people. For example, my boxing license got declined by the British Board of Boxing Control again for no sufficient reason. The doctor said again, he's fit, he's healthy. So I went to Rochdale, where I'm from, Rochdale. I went to the infirmary, sat down with the doctor, and I said, "Doctor, look, I need your help." The endocrinologist, Dr. Prakash at the time, I said, "Doctor, I need your help. I'd like you to write a letter to the British Board of Boxing Control saying that I'm fit and I'm healthy." And he said, "Ali, look, I can't put my neck on the line. Do you know, I'm not qualified enough to do that, right? But what I'm going to do is I'm going to transfer you over to, do a referral, basically, send you to another doctor, and he works with athletes, like, for example, Sir Steve Redgrave, the 5-time Olympic gold medalist. He's an Olympic rower. Go and see him and see what he has to say." So I was like, damn, I've got to go all the way to London now from Rochdale. It's a 4-hour drive. So what I thought was, in my head, when I made the appointment, it was 9 o'clock in the morning. So the receptionist on the other side said, "Ali, are you sure you're going to make it at 9 a.m.? Why don't you choose 1 p.m. post lunchtime?" And I thought, I'm going to go up for a 10 for 9 a.m. and the rest of the day I'm going to spend sightseeing in London. The appointment's going to be 10, 15 minutes. I was demotivated because every doctor was saying, "Oh, we're not willing to put our neck on the line." And I was like, I'm just going to hear the same story. Look, you're fit, you're healthy, but we can't put our neck on the line. And my plan was sightseeing. I've gone up there, gone to London, sat down with the doctor, and the doctor said, "Look, you are fit, you're healthy," the same story again. And as long as I can be part of your story, you're getting your license. And I was like, "Doctor, but they want to check my sugar levels in between rounds. You can't unwrap the reason the board were declining my license was because they were saying we can't take the gloves off in between rounds in the minute break, check your sugar levels in between rounds." So he said, "But technology's moved on, so now I've got a sensor." For example, I open my phone now, there's my sugar levels, they're 6.6 after training, and that's within a split second. So he said, he showed me that sensor. So Abbott's, I'm an ambassador for Abbott's as well, my main sponsor. So I've got a sensor on the side of my hip, and the doctor in between rounds, if you watch my fights, comes round, checks my sugar levels, shows it the board, and it's happy days if they're in between what the board's requirements are. And he showed me that technology. He said, "You're getting your license. Technology's moved on." So he gave me the product. Within an hour it was working, and he said, "Look, there's your sugar levels." So we sat down with the British Board of Boxing Control, and I got my license. But I'm skipping. I've got to tell you what's happened, right? So the doctor said I'm getting my license, everything, happy days. So the doctor and the British board are going back and forth. Like Ali's got equipment which will help him, show you guys the sugar levels in between rounds. So a friend of my father and another person I know, his friend basically had said, "Look, Joshua's fighting Povetkin." It was fighting Carlos Takam. Yeah, he was fighting Carlos Takam at the time. Takam or Joseph Parker. It was one of them. They're fighting at Principality Stadium, and he said the world's media is going to be there. Go and hold a peaceful protest out there. So we informed the British Board of Boxing Control saying, "Guys, we're going to come. You've got informed," so they let security know that there's going to be a bit of a peaceful protest. So honestly, we went up to Cardiff, gave leaflets out to people, and over like 10,000 people joined me. I was even on Joshua's Snapchat, when he was entering the venue, and that many people joined me. And Robert Smith from the British Boxing Control came out and he said, look, Ali, he gave me tickets, to the fight as well. And he came out and respectfully said, look, Ali, we'll have a meeting in a fortnight. Now leave. It's too many people here. You're holding signs saying I need my license. And, that's what we did. Held a peaceful protest, ended up on news channels, Russian news, all sorts of different channels. And noise were created. And we had a meeting 2 weeks later, and my doctor came, legal team, we all went, and I got my license. So I created history 18th of September 2018 by becoming the first type 1 diabetic professional boxer to compete. And now I'm 15 and hopefully on the 4th of October I'll create history becoming the first type 1 diabetic champion. But my message is to people out there, look, if you reach out to people, seek the right advice and not give up, have hope, really believe in your dreams. Goals are achievable. Don't give up, guys. Stay true to yourself, put the maximum in, and your best will come out. You'll be rewarded, most definitely.
I just want to ask about this fight a little bit more. Obviously, we've talked about the importance of it. Right now, when you see it in boxing, there's a lot of South Asian boxers who are doing very well. From yourself, do you find like this particular fight could be that catapult to where there's more eyes on yourself? And if so, what type of fighter do you think people will be tuning into seeing, whether it be live or on TV?
Yeah, absolutely. So look, it's for the WBC Asia title. It's a prestige title, prestige governing body, and it doesn't get bigger than that. And like you said, it's two South Asians coming together, competing, and it's going to be massive. It should get me massive exposure, and hopefully off the back of this, I'll sign with a big promoter. That's what it's about. And eventually, turning that WBC Asia title into a bigger title.
Into the world title.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the end goal, but let's take it one step at a time.
I want to just quickly touch about South Asian people in boxing. We see it in other sports. You've got football where there's a lack of representation. Cricket, we do see it with the England team with the likes of Adil Rashid, Moeen Ali and stuff. Boxing seems to be, I guess you could say, the hotbed for where South Asian people tend to put their sporting talent to. Obviously, for me personally, like I always say to a lot of people, the first person I saw box was Amir Khan on ITV. Most likely, it will be for a lot of the generation as well that are currently boxing. He will be that guy. But when I listen to names like yourselves, Hamzah Sheeraz, Adam Azim, Shabaz Masoud, Hamza Uddin, and more, what is it about, do you think, South Asians and boxing that tends to be that sport that we gravitate towards?
Firstly, I got to say, Amir opened the door for us all. He is an absolute legend.
Do you think, just quickly on, do you think he's underappreciated?
Absolutely. Come on, he was 17 years old when he won the silver medal. I remember it like yesterday. I think he fought the Turkish kid in the quarterfinal when he stopped him, or was that the Bulgarian? It was either Turkish or a Bulgarian when he stopped him in the final. It were 20 points then, 20-point difference, stopped him. He was 17, it's like, you don't hear of that, do you? In the final he boxed, I think if he turned pro, Mario Kindle, he would have been, and one of the all-time greats. And, winning silver and then at 22, world champion, you don't hear it now, in this day and age. He is underappreciated. He's a boxing legend, the elite of the elite. He's fought everybody, in his era. Credit to him, win, lose or draw.
Only person that's fought Canelo and Crawford.
Yeah. He's fought absolutely everybody. Like his win against Abjuda goes under radar. The Kotelnik fight, that was some performance. Luis Collazo, don't forget Collazo knocked out Ortiz the fight before.
Marcus Maidana going in against
Ortiz.
him.
Yeah, Marcus Maidana fight, that was a great win.
Paulie Malignaggi, the list goes on.
That was a big win, wasn't it, against Malignaggi, what propelled him into America. He doesn't get enough credit, the man's a legend.
But yeah, just speaking about yourselves and just other names that we mentioned previously.
Yeah, like Hamzah and Adam, and Shabaz, they at the elite level, shining, them guys are massive motivation, to reach where they are. I'd like to get there as well. Them guys are massive inspiration. It's good to see, fellow South Asians, absolutely doing brilliant out there, in the sport. It's amazing to see.
Do you think then, when like you said, for us as Amir, for younger kids, maybe 7, 8, 9, growing up as well, do you think they look at you guys and think, right, we've seen what you guys are achieving, we want to continue that lineage going forward?
Absolutely.
And is that super important for you as well to understand that and be like, I not only just need to be a boxer, but also somewhat of a role model and an inspiration for these kids?
I'd like to be a role model in the sense of showing people, more than just boxing. Look, if barriers are put in your way, there's ways to overcome the hurdles, and goals are achievable. Like I'd like to keep saying, to people, look, don't, for example, if a hurdle comes in your way or something stops you from achieving your dream, seek the help. Get right people, good people around you, and you can overcome the hurdle. And it's very, very important, you have a great team around you. That's the advice I'd like to, give people out there. Goals are achievable, and I've proven that.
100%. Listen, we're going to wrap up this little interview. I've got to say, I genuinely appreciate you guys for giving me the time to come down, record some content, see everything in person. I enjoy being on this side of the camera. I'm never going to be on that side of the camera ever, because it's way too intense for me. But yeah, inshallah, everything does go well. I'll be there as well on the night as well. Yeah. So yeah, we'll keep in touch and hopefully do another follow-up later on down the line.
It's definitely. No, Abbas, it's an absolute pleasure having you in the gym. You've got a glimpse into what we get down with, how our training unfolds. Don't forget, Amir started at this gym as well. He's left his footprints here, and it's just about winning now, inshallah, on the 4th of October, and let's keep pushing, onwards and upwards. That's what it's all about, and it's an absolute pleasure once again for having you in the gym. Thank you.